So moving over to the wideout position, Brandon Aiyuk. Fabs.
He's
back. Can we trust it? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I mean, 2 of his last 3 games, over 18 fantasy points. Over the last 4 games, he has played 88% of the offensive snaps. And he's kind of become the guy we thought he was going to be, right? I mean, he was a breakout candidate going into the season, had a ridiculously slow start that saw a lot of people put him on the waiver wire, but he's back. The Vikings have allowed the 7th most points per game to wide receivers lined out wide. So this is a smash spot for Brandon Aiyuk. And then, Elijah Moore has been one of the best wide receivers in fantasy football over the last 3 weeks. 2 games with over 27 fantasy points in that time. And he's got a very good matchup this week against the Texans. They have allowed the most fantasy points to receivers lined out wide. That's where Moore has run about 70% of his routes. Now, Zach Wilson being under center concerns me a little bit because he's quite erratic. But I'm thinking against the Texans, he can still get the job done. So Elijah Moore should be in play as a wide receiver 2 or flex. I also like another Moore, DJ Moore in Carolina, and Brandon Cooks, who let us down last week. I get it. But he is facing the Jets this week in what should be the worst game in the history of the National Football League.
Oh, I'm definitely starting Brandon Cooks this week. You also like Michael Pittman versus Tampa Bay, so I'm digging that as well. As far as who we're sitting, not feeling the love yet for Mr. OBJ in LA.
I don't believe in him. Like, call me a negative Nancy. I just don't believe in him. And he hasn't had a lot of time to gain a rapport with Matthew Stafford, right? I mean, he played minimally in their first game, so this will be his first game where he actually sees a full complement of snaps. But I don't love OBJ in this offense. Like, I get it. Robert Woods isn't there. I think he maybe needs a little time to marinate. Let's put it that way. It's still going to be Cooper Kupp who sees the majority of the targets. And Van Jefferson is also in the mix as well. And the matchup's not great. Now, you may think, wait a minute, Fabs, you're bananas, all right? You've been eating too much turkey. Look at what the Vikings did to the Packers last week. That was on the road. Their defense has allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers on the road. So road wide receivers have struggled at Lambeau Field. Just keep that in mind. I'm sitting OBJ. And then Courtland Sutton, who got paid, but, I mean, the numbers have not been there, right? I mean, look at his totals. He hasn't scored more than 6 fantasy points in 3 straight games. The Chargers defense is very tough. They've given up 5 touchdowns and the 2nd fewest fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. So unless you're really desperate for a flex, Sutton should be on the sidelines. I'm also going to fade Jarvis Landry. And Kenny Galladay at this point, I probably will drop him. I'm done. I'm sick of him. He should have never left Detroit. Horrible signing by the Giants. As a Cowboys fan, I kind of appreciate it. But from a fantasy perspective, I'm done with Kenny G.